you want to feel me emotional because when we talk about Nascetta, I feel emotional because this wine represents so much my professional life. In our history, the Nascetta, the Cru Ravera, the Biotype Rosé in Nebbiolo, and finally the Prefilostra are milestones that belong to us and we are proud of.
Welcome to this special Clubhouse session of the Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as members of the Italian wine community engage in fascinating conversations about contemporary wine topics. If you enjoyed the show, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com and remember to subscribe and rate the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your pods.
Hello and welcome to Clubhouse, the Ambassador's Corner. My name is Carla Ravagnolo and today I'm pleased to welcome back the Italian wine ambassador Ilia Sakharov from Kazakhstan and his guest Valter Fissore from Cogno Estate. Welcome everybody.
Welcome, ciao.
Welcome to everyone.
So Ilia, this is your second Clubhouse. In your first Ambassador's Corner, you've interviewed Giuseppe Pinna from Argiolas, who is a wine producer from Sardinia, but today we are focusing on Piedmont in northern Italy. So my first question is, could you please tell us where is Cogno located and how did you discover about its wines?
Hello again. First of all, I have got just a little bit notice that I have already relocated from Kazakhstan to Azerbaijan some months ago, and right now I am based here, not in Almaty. Anyway, you know that first upon a time, some years ago, I have heard about producer by my old colleagues in sommelier from other countries, and all of them are really told that this really seems like, a star on the sky of whole Barolo area. Yes, and then when I worked in Almaty in Kazakhstan, I think it was about 1 year ago, our company where I worked, started to import and distribute their wines, and I first tasted it by myself. And then, just in some months, it was my first business trip to Barolo, and Ilia Cogno was just my first winery which I have ever visited in Barolo in Piedmont, and it was really fantastic and important for me. I have got a lot of beautiful photos and a bottle from the winery. Walter, thank you again. I will ask you another one question about this bottle in the end of the interview, I hope.
So we hear that Cogno was your first winery visit in Piedmont, but why did you decide to invite Valter here with us today?
I think that Walter is a representative of one of the most interesting wave of producer in Barolo, because his project, it's something like Barolo, not for everybody in a general image, His wines, their wines, is something like Barolo for the guys which they really understand wine and who is really understand what is they drink. And I think that for other part of Italian Wine Ambassador and our friends community will be really interesting to listen our discussion. And of course, I have got some personal questions for Walter as a representative of the winery and area in total.
Following on what you just mentioned, what are then the learning objectives of this interview?
For me, the most interesting for today is the modern image of Barolo industry, new terroirs for Nebbiolo, climate changing, and maybe a little bit Barolo type of business.
Sounds amazing. So I'll now mute myself. I'll pass the mic to you and have fun.
Okay, Walter, ciao again. How are you? How was your season?
Ciao Ilia, thank you so much to invite me at this podcast. It's a great pleasure to meet you again. And it's a pleasure to participate and explain a little bit my production, my wines, my philosophy.
Okay, first question for today by me is about general time to wine industry in total right now in the world. You know that right now it's something like a little bit crisis in wine industry, but I have heard some opinion that some guys told me that good future for wines is not in classic part of the world, but on modern part like Latin America, Dubai, or something like this. I would like to ask you, do you feel maybe some touch of this, maybe quantity of your importers is rising in this type of regions? And in total, what do you think about this idea?
Yes, Ilya, I agree that it's a complicated time for the wine industry. The demand is shrinking. 2024 was a very difficult year for sales because, in my opinion, the geopolitical situation is challenging. There are wars, high inflation, prices have risen, and willingness to purchase are decreased. All of this certainly didn't help wine consumption. This contraction has also been felt by us, but we have fought through it with a closer cooperation with our partners, promoting our products through trips and targeted events. This has allowed us to close 2024 with a turnover similar to 23. It certainly wasn't easy, but I am confident that 2025 will be better. The economic outlook is growing, I think. Certainly, not all problems are overcome. We have made up for the loss of some markets by opening up new ones. We started with United Emirates, Caribbean markets, Indonesia, and some other countries. This allowed us to compensate for the lower purchase from our usual importers. Of course, new markets needs time to grow. The important thing was opening new sales channel. There is also another big issue related to ongoing campaign against alcohol consumption. This is demonstrated by the recent European promotion authorization for the production of the alcoholized wines, which I would like call wines but a rated beverage. As you can understand, this doesn't help maintain the consumption of a natural products like wine. Wines that characterized from millennia old tradition tied to our culture and civilization. This demonization of alcohol in general will certainly be a problem, particularly for a sector like ours. I hope that this could be good for you, this answer.
Okay, thank you. And I have heard two parts of your reply, and the first is about the new market, Caribbean, Indonesian, United Emirates. And for me, it's interesting. What do you think about the future of this market? Of course, I also understand that every new market just need time to grow, but do you think that some of this market could in future become one of the maybe not the biggest, but one of the most interesting market, like it was northern part of Europe, USA, maybe Russia until the war was started or something like this? Or you're just thinking that these new markets will not be so important and this is just okay, just an average country, just an average market? What do you think?
No, all these markets are very important. All markets are important. It's important try to explain to our customer our style, our philosophy, and to do that needs time. Also, some markets are younger and needs great education, and sometimes it's not immediate receives the results. We don't see immediately the results.
Okay, thank you. And another part of my additional questions, you have already mentioned non-alcoholic wines, and as I hope I correctly heard from your speech, you used the word demonized. And as I remember, some maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago, one of Italian ministry have wrote or told something like just stop to demonize the wine, and I absolutely agree with this point of view. Yeah, but anyway, we just understand that the category of non-alcoholic wines, of juice, is rising. It is just modern rails. And maybe do you also think about start to produce some products in this category too, or not? What do you think?
Forget it totally. Okay, this is no wine. This is a juice or beverage, but don't represent our tradition, our culture, our history.
Fantastic. I am absolutely agree with you. Okay, just go to the next one. And the second question is about climate changing. You know that it is really also important part of modern troubles too. climate has already changed. The weather is hot. And, of course, that many of your wines are made with Nebbiolo. And this grape variety, even in normal climate period, could be with really high alcohol. What do you think about the future of Nebbiolo in your terroirs? Maybe do you look in the new areas like northern part of Piedmont, Gemme, Gattinara, Corem, or something like this? Or maybe do you thinking about some new biotypes of Nebbiolo with high resistance to hot and drought? Or maybe have you considering any other ways to versus with climate changing?
Well, Ilya, I agree with you. The climate has changed, and we are in a phase of climate warming that presents us with new challenges for wine production. We mainly produce Nebbiolo in the Barolo area, and we are obviously exposed to an increased alcohol content in our wines. However, I must say that over the last 15 years, we have shifted our focus toward agronomic and viticultural aspect, rather than enological research. Since 2010, we have started organic viticulture, and our relentless search for a more attentive vineyards management has allowed to us to produce very balanced wines. The wines have adapted to the climate change in an incredible way, becoming more resistant to the adversity. Natural production has decreased, which has allowed for less invasive and complete fruit ripening. All this has led to wines that are very well balanced, more elegant, but still very deep and complex. I see it's an improvement, especially for Nebbiolo. If we have analyzed the last 10 vintages, I must honestly say that the climate warming has improved the Barolo. The wines are thinner, and phenolic maturation has reduced the tannic astringency, which has always been a problem for this wine in past. This is evidenced by the fact that today Barolos are ready drinkable when young, and the consumer find them truly unique and interesting from the start, with the great potential for age, which of course will never drop. Regarding the question of whether we are looking for a new areas for Nebbiolo based with wine production, I would not say no. I love other wines like Gemme and Gattinara, but we live here and we are focused on Barolo, which is and remain one of the great wines of the world. The effort for us to always produce better wines is very great, and we are the guardians of this terroir. So we want to nothing more that remain focused on the Nebbiolo from our area, where it expresses itself manifestly. In this regard, we know that research in this field continues. There are studies in the early stage called cisgenesis and genoediting that could help fight climate adversity. In short, certain genes are introduced into the Nebbiolo biotype to improve resistance to certain disease without altering the variety. In these last years, we already introduced some new rootstock that are more resistant to the drought, are being tested called M rootstock, and others are already used for by us in a targeted way, such under 10 Richter and under 40 Ruggeri. So this new rootstock helps to fight the dry season and the global warming.
During your answer, during your reply, you have already touched two other topics, which I'm going to touch also in some minutes. But if we just to sum up, first part of your answer was about modern climate, modern average temperature in Barolo area is even better for grape varieties, and right now something like ideal conditions for phenolic ripeness of the Nebbiolo in your area. Is it correct?
Yes, it's true. The wines became better with this climate change. It's considered the result of the last 10 years.
Okay, thank you, I understand. As you mentioned, another topics, I would like to switch the question for the next one. I know that you have got two type of Barbaras, two wines with Barbaras, and you mentioned rootstocks, and one of your Barbera is made with Prefilloxera vineyard. How could you describe the differences between the wines on Pre-Phylloxera wines and the classic Brico de Merle? What is the difference between these wines?
Before to talk about the difference through these two Barbera, Ilia, I would like to explain a bit what is our Pre-Phylloxera. So we produce since 2010 Barbera Pre-Phylloxera, comes from a vineyards in La Morra at 550 meters above the sea level, high elevation, with a sandy soil. And this is certainly of the reason that survived the phylloxera. This production is very, very small. Each year we average about 2,000 bottles. I should mention that the 2025 will be the last year of our production from the original vineyards. Unfortunately, the yield is becoming increasingly scarce and is no longer makes sense to continue. However, we have a project to replant it using the same genetics, replacing the vines with the original wood. This will allow to us to continue enjoying something truly special. The characteristic of the Barbera Pre-Phylloxera is a wine slightly different from Barbera d'Alba Bricco Merli. The color is deep ruby red with violet reflection. The aroma evokes dark fruit notes with a spiciness reminiscent to Syrah from Rhone Valley, but with a bit more acidity. The taste of this Barbera is savory, fresh, with a light tannic structure that makes the finish very long and satisfying. The other Barbera is more classical, is darker fruit, red cherry, black cherry, and a touch of wood, but very, very low because I don't like oaky wines.
Thank you, but sorry, could you please repeat because of I don't understand why are you going to stop the production? Because of the quantity is too low, or why? What is the reason for?
Because the production is too low and it's very complicated to manage a vineyard so old, and have no sense to spend effort that feel me very sad, but this is the reality.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you. And another one, additional questions. You mentioned some minutes ago the potential of Barolo in modern climate, and I have got a question about approach to drink your wines, because if you know that there are something like two different points of view about wines. First is that wine it is just a beverage, and if you have got a bottle of wine, you just need to drink it. Another one point is that wine is a culture and something like a part of high cuisine. And the guys from with this point of view think that people should age a wine and drink something like old vintages. What do you think about Barolo in total, especially in modern climate, which you describe as something like ideal condition, and of course about your wine personality, because it's really important for me because, as I mentioned, some months ago, I relocated from Kazakhstan to Azerbaijan, and I brought with me just two bottles, and one of these two bottles is Ravera Vinia Elena, which you presented to me during our visit, and thank you a lot. And I just want to know when I must drink this wine.
I remember when I gave you this bottle. No, wine is not just a simple drink, Ilya. If you have a bottle, you can drink it right away, but always with the proper awareness that is come from our agricultural work, from hard labor, tied to nature and the cycle of the season, and from century of history and tradition that accompany humankind. Today, the wine is certainly consumed for pleasure and friendship and socialize, but I believe it should be also be consumed with the right respect for what it represents and the effort that we made to produce it. Is not simple, but there needs to be an education in drinking. The frenzy of modern life doesn't help in this regard. Our wines, by philosophy, must be good from the start. I don't believe that a wine can become good over the time if it's not already good from the beginning. Bottle aging is necessary for important wines like Barolo, for their natural evolution and the harmonization of the wine components. But in any case, the wine should be good from the outset, considering viticultural effort made in recent years to achieve greater juiciness and less tannic austerity. Today, Barolo can be enjoyed even when it's younger, which reflects its current global success. I am not a big fan of overly old wines. Often, when I open very old bottles, I find them tired, a little bit oxidized, and lacking fruit. Of course, the hallmark of great wines is their ability to age well. A respected Barolo should be able to last at least 20 years. As for when drinking a bottle doesn't another matter. It depends a lot of individual taste. Often people become collectors rather than opening a great bottle to appreciate its quality. As for your bottle, I would like to tell you to drink it when you find the right occasion, the right moment, and the right mood to fully enjoy it. So you find what the right time for you is what you need.
It sounds like a word by a really true hedonist, you know. But if we just try to find not the best time, but you know, something like peak of evolution of your aware Eliana, what do you think about the time? 5 years after release, 10 years, 15 years?
Our Vignale is our most iconic Barolo, and this is made with the biotype Rosé clone. And this is very, very unique and very rare in the Langhe area. We started to produce this Barolo in 1997, and this is a wine with great elegance, finesse. It's more closer to Burgundy wines, and I think Barolo Vignale could age very well, but not longer than our Ravera, for example. I think that Vignale could age around 20 years, but depends a lot of the vintage. So it's so difficult to say how many days, how many years you can keep. What is important that you enjoy the wine when you like it. And I don't know what exactly you expect from a wine so important like our Barolo.
Okay, thank you. I think that I just need to keep it more. Uh, don't drink it next Sunday. And you have already mentioned some other of my questions for tonight. You mentioned that this type of Barolo could be compared with Burgundy. And I have got a question about Burgundy because of Barolo is often compared with Burgundy in terroir approach, in style of wine, and a lot of another details. What do you think about it? What do you think is this way, this Burgundy approach, good future for your region and especially for your project or not? This is first part of question, and the second part of this question: do you think that in total, and your wines, Barolo is a wine of terroir, or it is more a wine of winemaker?
Great question. It's very true. Very often, Barolo's wine is compared to Burgundy Pinot Noir. This happens for several reasons. Firstly, there are characteristics of the Nebbiolo variety that are closer to Pinot Noir, and of course, there is a microclimate. It's not so different between the two geographical area, making two wines cousins. Both varieties are tremendously complex. For both a viticulture and enological perspective are requiring unique microareas of production with a specific phytoclimatic condition to express themselves and their best. Lastly, wines made from both varieties are develop a character of uniqueness, personality. They are so more capable than others of highlighting the terroir of origin. This is fascinating aspect of the Nebbiolo and Pinot Noir. When we talk about the wine, there are sensory analogies expressed through the fruit, the elegance, and the aromaticity. I believe the Barolo is even more complex and deep, but it has the problem of the tannicity, which must be managed first in the vineyards, even before that in the cellar. The phenolic maturation is crucial. After that, we are at the top for me. Barolo is absolutely a terroir wine. The winemaking process and the aging in wood are very important, but they must not mask or compromise their organoleptic quality of the grape wine could express. The fruit of Nebbiolo is so beautiful, difficult to preserve it for as long as possible. With our Cru Ravera, we focus on this, and over the years we have improved in managing its tannicity. With is not properly handled, would make our Barolo less drinkable and enjoyable. In my opinion, climate change has benefited Nebbiolo more than Pinot Noir. Our wines have become more elegant, while the Pinot Nero have become more structured than in the past. Of course, it is my personal opinion, Ilia.
Yes, of course, I understand about personal point of view, personal opinion. I understand about the wine of terroir, but what do you think about the approach about MEGA, single vineyard, and this type of approach? Do you think that style of Burgundy with something like Grand Cru, Premier Cru, the first wave of terroirs, the second wave of terroirs, do you think that this kind of researching your terroir, your area, your appellation will be good for the region or not?
No, the MGA helps a lot to understand the difference through the single terroir of the region, of the Barolo area. Of course, our classification is not so old like in Burgundy, and that for that needs more time, and I think it could become better, the classification. But today, the producers are focused on the quality of this single terroir and helps to the consumer to understand what is the Barolo in different location, in different microclimate, with different terroir.
Okay, I understand. And the next question is not about your red wine, but about your nascetta, which names anashetta. You know that for me it's just really true, but anashetta is the best nascetta which I have ever tasted. But in general, in people's minds, Barolo and Barbaresco and in total Langiaria, okay, maybe not Langiaria, but Barolo and Barbaresco, is just about red wines. What do you think about potential of nascetta grape variety in your area in total and in your winery personality? Do you think that modern trend for white wines or maybe even for sparkling wines could be used with nascetta, or you not see the potential in your terroir and nascetta just will stay something like a local specialization?
Yeah, you want to feel me emotional because when we talk about nascetta, I feel emotional because this wine represents so much my professional life. In our history, the nascetta, the Cru Ravera, the Biotype Rosé in Nebbiolo, and finally the Prefilostra are milestones that belong to us and we are proud of. With nascetta, we have done incredible work for every point of view. First of all, as the first to believe in this great variety native to Novello, we started a long and exhausting process to recover back in 1994. At the time, even though the Nascetta grape was historical and well known, it was not an authorized grape for cultivation. Over the next 10 years, we put all our energy into obtaining recognition, and finally in 2004, we were granted DOC status at Langhe Bianco. Then, not satisfied with that, we worked with our producer from Novello, and at the time only with Azienda La Strette, for example, we get the grape listed under Langhe Nascetta with mention of Novello. In our small way, we contribute to creating a microeconomy for the Langhe. Today, after 30 harvests, we consider ourselves a small pioneer of Nascetta. We know both the strengths and the weakness of this wine and fully aware of its quality. We believe that there is still room for growth by investing more in the land of the great red wines. Certainly, its spread has not been helped with the fact that it comes from the Barolo area, and it has been its main limitation. However, if instead of replanting foreign variety like Chardonnay and Sauvignon, more focus should be better plant more Nascetta. It would be my opinion, but a great favor of the region. Many producers still lack awareness of the organoleptic quality of this grape and the wine that comes from it. There are 14 wineries in Novello producing Nascetta with this mention and 100% Nascetta grape, and 30-35 outside Novello producing Langhe Nascetta only. So it's a wine with great characteristics, can age very well. That helps create a new economy for this region. I think you need to invest more and more.
I absolutely agree with you. And you know that when I tasted your Nascetta first time, it was about 1 year ago, I think. One of the first of my minds was that, oh, guys, I don't know about Italian market, but just some years ago in Russian language world, and I think that in total in modern wine markets was a really big trend in volcanic style of wine. You know, Tenerife, Etna, Campania, something like this. And the first mind which I which I obtained during the first tasting of your Nascetta was that, oh guys, this is absolutely something this way, this stylistic of white wine with refreshing acidity, with something reduction notes, fantastic gastronomic potential. It was really cool. And what do you think about maybe sparkling potential for these wines? Because of, you know, as I already mentioned, comparing with volcanic styles, for example, on Etna, Sicily is one of the most interesting category right now is not only still wine but also sparkling wine. And for me, during tasting your Nascetta, it was interesting that okay, maybe this grape variety have got a good potential for sparkling production also. What do you think?
I don't think that is a variety that well expressed in a sparkling way because it's for me it's a little bit too aromatic. So I prefer don't produce sparkling Nascetta. But there are some producers that I'm trying to do that at the moment.
Okay, thank you. I understand. I think that this questions was the last one by my list, and I just would like to tell big thank you for this fantastic interview. It was really interesting for me, and I was it was good to meet as we already told you again. I hope that I will visit your winery when I will be in Piedmont again because our visit was absolutely fantastic. And just for finish, you know, I would like to tell some short history because I remember it during my first visit to a project. It was many years ago during one of my first big professional course about Italy wine industry in total. And you know that my first educator, wine matter, just trying to explain what is Italian wine in total. And he compared south part of Italy and the northern part of Italy. And he described that, okay, in south, you could see a big family, big guys, a lot of sunny, something like a countryside style of life, you know. And then he described northern type, an example of especially Barolo, that, you know, not so big family, something aristocratic style of life, a lot of very, very stylish and good wines, expensive cars and Michelin restaurants, something like this. And just during my first visit to Piedmont and my first visit to your winery, we tasted a lot of absolutely fantastic wines with fantastic glasses. Then just go to amazing restaurants, and I tried one of the best pasta during all my life. And I remember this visit that because of, you know, just from word to word, all image, all picture was the same as my first wine educator told me many years ago. And I have got a lot of good, warm, friendly vibes by this visit. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ilia. It was my pleasure to meet you here in Piemonte, and I appreciate that something that I explained you during your visit was remind in your head. And I try to do myself always, and I do this work with great passion, like many other producers. But what it's important to be always yourself, always when the success is going better. And I feel me very humble always, but I'm doing our best work possible to express the quality of this beautiful area where we live. And in Piemonte, you will find always friends, don't forget. And I hope you see you soon again in Piedmont. And I would like to visit Kazakhstan when it's possible to help the sales to increase our reputation there. Okay?
Okay, and I don't know, will you be at Vinitaly in this edition?
Yeah, I will be at Vinitaly, but at this moment, I am concentrated to prepare my first fair that is in Paris, Wine Paris, and then I need to go also in Provine and then the Vinitaly. So you still have time to Vinitaly. I'm not preparing this fair, but this is a very important fair for me, and I will be there with great pleasure to meet our customer. And Vinitaly remain our most important wine fair in the world.
Yes, so lots of events coming up. Valter, you have some busy weeks coming up next. So I would say best of luck to you in Wine Paris and wish to see you and meet you in person at Vinitaly. I think this is a wrap. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.